Do you think you can fuck a bad bitch and leave hate comments at the same time? No, you cannot. You think you can date Maddie Drosbeck and be leaving hater ass comments at your grown age at the same time? Be serious. Be serious right now. No, it was never gonna happen. You were never gonna get tickets to that show, babe. I left that bitch on red.
Dude, where are you? Pick up your phone. I'm going to a summer party tonight, and you're obviously invited, so call me back. Okay, I love you. Bye.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back to Emotionally Online, the weekly slumber party for spilling guts and sharing secrets, hosted by yours truly, the one and only Maddie Drosbeck, who hasn't been on the mic in a minute now. I'm recording this on July 17th, and I feel like at this point I haven't sat down for a solo episode since like the end of June. I recorded an episode with Robbie like 2 weeks ago at this point, which that's going to come out next week. It was going to come out today, but I decided I needed to hop on here and do a solo episode ASAP, immediately. Because there's, number one, so much going on right now that I am chomping at the bit to talk about. And I just feel like the Robbie episode can sort of come out whenever. So here we are. Here I am. My priorities in the beginning half of the month got a little bit shifted around, as they do. My sister had surgery on her foot. And so I unexpectedly had to make a trip out to LA to take care of her. And I just shifted my entire schedule around because there was quite literally nothing more important to me than my sister. My mom called me on like July 5th in the morning, and she was like, "What are you doing? Like, is it possible for you to fly out to be with your sister and take care of her? Like, are you busy? Are you doing stuff?" And I'm like, it doesn't matter if I'm busy or not. If Morgan needs me, I'm there. So a few hours later, I got on a flight, and that night I was in LA with my sister. And we spent a few days just hanging out, doing our thing. We were playing a lot of Toontown. We were fucking grinding on Toontown. It was just so much fun. We just sat around and played Toontown and watched movies, and we made a candy salad, and we were doing little like TikTok trends that we didn't post. We were just doing it for ourselves. Like we did the little like sister dictionary thing that people were doing, and we ate a lot of Raisin Canes because Raisin Canes is fucking delicious. And I understand we have them in New York City, but the locations are not in convenient places. I guess there's one near the Alamo Draft House that I do frequent quite a bit, but I've never been. I've only ever had Raisin Canes when I'm with my sister in LA. So when we get there, I'm like, who wants canes? Because to me, it's like an LA thing, even though it's like for sure not an LA thing. So anyways, that's where I've been. That's why you haven't seen me, because at the end of the day, a podcast episode, a YouTube video, all of these random internet things, nothing on planet Earth is more important to me than my sister, babes. So, we're getting back into it. We're getting back after it. But listen, it's the summer. No one's on the internet anyways. Who gives a shit? It's a YouTube video. It's a podcast episode. No one's going to die because of that. So let's just focus on what really matters, which is family and friends and good vibes and having a good summer, as some would say. Although I don't know if good vibes are happening over in the villa, but we'll talk about that. We will get there eventually. I've been on my movie watching grind, as you can probably guess, as you can probably assume. I'm always on my movie watching grind. Come on now. And I saw 2 movies in the last week that are on 2 ends of the spectrum in terms of my reaction to them. One that I am so excited about, and one that I am so mad about. Or not even mad. I'm just like, this is bad. One really great movie and one really cheeks-a-mundo movie, okay? Both are within the horror genre. So if you're a horror head, listen up. And if you're not a horror head, you're probably going to dislike both of these movies. I don't give a shit, okay? Because one of them is so good and one of them deserves jail time, okay? The one that I loved is Longlegs. I have been anticipating this movie. I've been so excited for Longlegs to come out. It stars Nicolas Cage and Micah Monroe, and I knew I was going to love this movie. I had a feeling that it was going to be fantastic. The marketing rollout for this movie, the trailer, all of it just got me fucking amped. And the like initial reviews from the early screenings of the movie, and I forget where it premiered or when it was that people started seeing it for the first time, but there are critics and reviewers that I really like and keep up with, because I know that I align with most of their taste palette and their opinions, and the people that I really like and respect the opinions of, when they were shown it in early screenings, they had good things to say about it. So I had been anticipating this movie for so many reasons. Went to go see it last weekend. I forget. It was last Saturday, I believe. Went to go see it, and I had my goddamn socks blown off, okay? I was excited to see Micah Monroe in another leading horror role because I saw It Follows, which was another recent watch of mine. People have been telling me to watch It Follows for years, and I've just ignored them because I was dumb. I was dumb and I was stupid, and I'll never make that mistake again. It Follows is a perfect horror movie, and I love it. And so I was naturally very excited to see Micah in another leading horror role. Another movie, getting sidetracked here for a second, another horror movie that I had not seen for years that people always told me to watch, but I just never seen it, was Scream. I had never seen Scream until this month. I watched it towards the beginning of the month, and it is fantastic. That's another perfect horror movie. And honestly, I am shocked that I never had that movie spoiled for me. I'm not going to spoil it for you now. I am shocked because that movie came out when? When did Scream come out? Let me check this. You would think that I would have at some point gotten it spoiled. It came out in 1996, okay? This movie is older than me, bitch. And I never got it spoiled for me. What? I don't know how I did it, but I was gooped and gagged, okay? I had no idea what was coming in that movie. So I feel like I got to indulge in it and experience it in truly all of its glory. And if you don't know, if you also have not had Scream spoiled for you, watch the movie. Go watch the movie. Don't let it become spoiled for you. Just go watch Scream because it's a fucking great horror movie. And if you've never seen It Follows, go watch It Follows. And if you're brave enough, go see Longlegs. I'm not going to even tell you what the plot for Longlegs is because I really think that you should just go in blind or just watch the trailer because the trailer doesn't really overly explain what's going on in the movie. I think it's a pretty good trailer, all things considered. But what I will say is that it is a wonderful example of a horror movie that has learned from the horror greats that came before it, which the movie is directed by Osgood Perkins, whose father is Norman Bates of Psycho fame. So it makes sense to me that there would be like a clear acknowledgement and learning and like appreciation for classic horror, but in a very new and fresh way, because that's what it felt like as an audience member. It is like so fun, so refreshing. Fun is probably not the word that most people would use to describe Longlegs, but I just enjoyed my experience of watching this movie so much. It's the type of horror that's not too heavy-handed, and it's just like the slowly, quietly festering unease that just creeps up on you the entire movie. And Nicolas Cage and Micah Monroe were both absolutely phenomenal. The editing is supreme. The sound design is fantastic. I was blown away. Probably what I would say the best horror movie to come out since It Follows. I love Hereditary. That would probably be like number 2 for me. Like Hereditary and Longlegs to me are very much like those are the 2 best horror movies that come out in the last decade, for sure. In my opinion. And there's also been a lot of people comparing Longlegs to Silence of the Lambs, which you can definitely see inspiration and connections to be drawn. Silence of the Lambs is my favorite movie of all time. So I'm like, I wonder if the reason why I love Longlegs is because I like my brain subconsciously acknowledges the like association to Silence of the Lambs, but also it's nothing like Silence of the Lambs. Very different movie. But I can see the connections to be drawn, and Silence of the Lambs is a perfect movie. That's a 5 stars, babe. Easy. So anyways, huge success. Loved Longlegs. Then I had to be brought back down to reality a mere 2 days later because I went and saw maxxxine, which, my God, I don't like the entire trilogy. I dislike every single one of those movies. Here's the thing. I watched X a while ago, long time ago, in this very spot. I sat in this very spot on my couch and watched X. And I remember watching X and being like, wait, what? Because I remembered all the hype about that movie. And so when I sat down to watch it at home, this was long after the movie came out, I was expecting something so much better than that. It was just like as mid can get to me. And I didn't give a fuck about any of those characters. None of them were interesting to me. It was just a whole lot of like classic horror tropes and plot points, not done in a new way or in an interesting way, just in the most mid way possible. I'm like, this isn't like the worst thing I've ever seen, but not to like any benefit of its own. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen because it just feels like a copy paste of like iconic moments in other like popular horror slasher films. So I just thought that it was mid as hell. And I think when I originally watched it, I gave it 3 stars. Then like 2 years pass, a year, 2 years, I don't know. I see Pearl more recently. I watched Pearl earlier this year. And Pearl is a little bit better than X, to be honest with you. Pearl is supposed to be like a prequel focusing on the character of Pearl, the old lady in X, played by Mia Goth. And Pearl is better than X as a movie because Pearl is a much more fascinating character, and understanding her lore and her backstory is naturally just more intriguing. However, the movie as a whole is not better than a 3. I knew that Pearl, that is a solid 3-star movie, which meant that I had to rank X lower. X, I don't understand why people like this movie. Genuinely, I do not like X. It has absolutely nothing to say. Okay? It is a boring fucking movie. Pearl is a little bit better, incrementally better, because Pearl is a more interesting character. And Mia Goth is a beast, by the way. Mia Goth is so talented. Any of my criticism here has nothing to do with her, because I think she is a very talented woman working with a shitty fucking script. And she has no responsibility for how much I hate this trilogy. Mia Goth, you are innocent, okay? Hands completely clean of this one. But that's saying a lot, that the script is so bad that not even your fucking lead, being a beast can save you, okay? I mean it deeply. So, going into maxxxine, I had a feeling that I also wasn't going to like it because I clearly just don't really like this director/writer, T. West. I'm clearly not the biggest fan. Just not my vibe, personally. So, I went to go see maxxxine because I needed to see it. I needed to be in the loop. I needed to be in the know. And yeah, it is the worst. By a mile, it's the worst. I actually am kind of gobsmacked that the rating on Letterboxd, the average rating, it's not doing fantastically. It has a 3.2 average rating. I mean, it's kind of a shit rating anyways, but even 3.2 is way too high. For me, I gave this one a 2. A solid 2. The script is so bad. It is so bad. And I almost felt like they thought they could cover up what shitty of a script this is, with like some pretty aesthetic 80s nostalgia bait, just making people all be like, oh yeah, the 80s was so cool, retro nostalgia, I love it. People are so blinded by that and like the fun of the aesthetic of it all that it's like almost like they're blinded. I'm like, can we just get away with anything if we throw some nostalgia in there? We just make it aesthetically look like the 80s and people are like, this movie is great. Even when it's so bad. So bad. Yeah, the script is hollow as hell. The characters have no dimension to them. I don't give a fuck about Maxine Minx, who's probably the most boring character in this entire series. And that ending is a real head scratcher. Okay, first of all, it was obvious. The whole movie is so predictable from start to finish, but it goes completely off the rails in terms of production decisions in the third act of that movie. The way that they chose to round out this trilogy, jail time for how bad it was. Jail time. I was giggling and I was like, but not in a good way. Not in a I'm laughing with you way, in a I'm laughing at you way, because what? Excuse me? Ugh. It was just so unsatisfying and so bad. It was just so unsatisfying, and I thought that it committed the same exact crimes that I think X and Pearl commit as well. The whole trilogy is like if T. West was looking at all of what is popular in horror and slasher and just cherry picking what he has seen work with audiences in the past, copy and pasting them into a script that otherwise has no substance and being like, I heard you guys like this. This is pretty cool, huh? And you're like, what? What is going on? There's like no substance here at all. It's just lacking in every way, shape, or form. Unbelievable vibes. So if you're going to go see a horror movie, I suggest seeing Longlegs and skipping Maxxxine. Granted, if you're going to go see Maxxxine, it's probably just because you've seen the other movies in the trilogy as well. I do not know why you would go see Maxxxine if you had never seen X or Pearl. Granted, like, all of the movies can really work as a standalone film, maybe, but not really. Like, you do need the backstory for Maxxxine. You need to watch X before you watch Maxxxine. Pearl is sort of a standalone movie, since it's a prequel. But anyways, don't recommend. If you're going to go see a horror movie that's in theaters right now, go see friggin' Longlegs, because Nicolas Cage is eating and devouring in that movie, okay? Which we don't know if he does that often. But in this movie, he ate and devoured. Let's talk about Cody Co and Tana Mongeau. I have been chomping at the bit to talk about this because I have so much to say in response to everything that's come out over the last few weeks. This is a story that has been developing over like the last month, I would say, but I think it really ramped up in the amount of coverage and traction the conversation was getting after D'Angelo Wallace posted a video about it, which is really great. Definitely recommend watching it if you haven't already, but I'm assuming a lot of you probably already have. I've been aware of this story since Tana talked about it on her podcast. It was probably like a month ago. It was the episode when she was sitting talking to Paige about all of this, and this had been an episode that she did coming off the heels of when this story had like initially started gaining traction when it was brought up at a live show of Tana's. So basically, to give a little recap for those of you that don't know, Tana was on tour recently with for her podcast, her and her co-host Brooke, and people are not supposed to record during these live shows, but obviously people do it anyways and post it on TikTok and share it around Reddit, whatever. So there was a question asked to Tana at one of her live shows where somebody had asked her like, who was the smallest penis you've ever hooked up with? And Tana's answer was Cody Co, and I can say that because I was 17. So this gets clipped and posted to TikTok, Reddit, everywhere, and naturally fans are like, whoa, okay, hold on, because if Tana's having sex with Cody when she's 17, that makes Cody 25, which is statutory rape. And this is shocking to a lot of people because Cody Co is widely known as one of like the good boys of YouTube. I have been a fan of Cody myself up until this moment. I believe even a few months ago when we were having the conversation of like who could be the CEO of Loverboys Worldwide, I believe Cody Co, his name was probably thrown into the conversation there because he had been widely seen as just like a nice guy. He's married. His wife is also known as just like a sweetie. They just had a kid. Like, he and his comedy podcast that he does with Noel Miller, like, they're very well-liked people. And I think that hearing this about Cody came as a real shock to a lot of people, myself included. So Tana goes on her podcast after this has sort of been blowing up and making waves to talk about it all these years later and talk about some of her reflections, how she's been feeling about all of it. And, just to sort of sit in it in front of the audience. And she has, her friend and assistant Paige to sort of talk it through with her. Something that D'Angelo touched on in his video is that a lot of people have been dismissive towards Tana coming forward and talking about all of this because she is an unlikable woman. And I think perhaps that's part of it, though I disagree with that, to be fair. I actually think Tana is incredibly likable, which I'll say more about that in a second. But understanding a lot of people might view her that way without knowing or consuming too much of her content and just hearing like the high level, these are the things that people say about Tana Mongeau, why someone might say something like that about her. But I think the bigger issue here is that Cody Co is like a really respected figure within the like popular YouTube commentary space. And so a lot of the people that would have made videos talking about this topic, people that make videos about YouTube commentary and the things going on involving creators, a lot of people that would make videos about that are people that are in direct community with him, people that have collaborated with him. And because of that, and because of the fact that Tana is largely seen as like an unreliable source and an unlikable person, there's definitely going to be less people that give a shit about it, as we've seen and as D'Angelo called out in his video. Now, I say that I actually don't think that Tana Mongeau is an unlikable person, mostly because I just, not that Tana listens to my podcast or is ever going to hear me say this, but I just, hearing the, like, all the talk around all of this, and it feels like every person that has talked about this has made a point to emphasize that Tana is unlikable in some way, and that is, like, part of this equation. And I know that she's probably cool with a lot of that. Granted, she has a podcast called Cancelled. She's pretty self-aware of the fact that she has done and said a lot of controversial things throughout her career, and it's part of what makes her Tana Mongeau. I think she knows that. However, I don't love the way that people keep telling this girl that has clearly gone through so much in her life that she is an inherently unlikable person and that's why no one believes her, because I think it's a load of bullshit. I actually find Tana to be incredibly likable. Tana is someone that I have followed for the entire duration of her internet career. Her podcast is one of 2 podcasts that I listen to every single week. I never miss an episode of H3 and I never miss an episode of Cancelled. I really like Tana, despite the fact that we're very different people and I don't agree with everything that Tana does or says, though I don't believe that being a fan of someone on social media should mean you co-sign everything they do and say. There's no celebrity or public figure that my support of them equals me loving everything they do and say. Tana and I can have different opinions on things. She can make mistakes and fuck up on the internet and say wild things, and it's not going to really change the fact that I find her to be a very compelling and entertaining personality, that I am fascinated by what she's been able to achieve, that I find her honesty and candidness really fucking refreshing, that I am honestly impressed by how little anxiety she seems to have. And she's just really entertaining. And I love that she rides for her best friends. She's a very generous person. Like, I think there's a lot of things to love about Tana Mongeau, actually. With that said, are there things that you can pick out about Tana that she's done in the past that are not fantastic? Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure she would admit that they weren't fantastic herself. But I think it's interesting that within this conversation of talking about something traumatic that happened to Tana, it has to be constantly brought back to the fact that she is seen as like an unlikable person. But I really don't believe that's true. As someone that consumes a lot of her content, I think that Tana is a very likable person. And it's why she has millions of people that support the hell out of her. She has a very loyal audience. And yeah, maybe that's just like a side tangent of mine that I've thought about, because I'm sure it can't be great to like be so vulnerable and share something traumatic that happened to you and be constantly reminded that like the reason why so many people are not going to believe you is because they find you to be deeply unlikable and irredeemable for things you did and said when you were 16 years old. Being someone also knowing like what a challenging childhood Tana had and what a challenging relationship she's had with her parents, and just like, I don't know, I do kind of get frustrated that people don't have as much empathy for Tana as I feel she probably deserves. Yeah. In response to Tana starting to talk about all of this, you had a lot of like diehard Cody Co fans starting to hit her with like well, why didn't you come out with this until now? It's been years. Why didn't you say something sooner? And sort of basically insinuating that the only reason she's bringing this up now is like to have shit to talk about on her podcast, or like to stir shit and contribute to her brand, and to just be more, I don't know, to push their own narrative, I guess, or of how they want to see Tana, or how they perceive her, which is really deeply unfair. And people were also citing the fact that like Tana herself has said that she doesn't care, which is a very reductive way to summarize what Tana has said about her feelings on the whole thing. To summarize all of what Tana said by being like, well, Tana doesn't care, so none of it matters, is just like not true. Tana was talking about how like trauma sits in her body, and how this experience is not one that she looks back on or really feels the trauma of deeply, even though she can recognize it never should have happened. And that also Gabby Hanna, wild name to be brought into the mix of all this, but Gabby Hanna at the time had tried to stop it from happening. She warned Cody Co when the night that they hooked up, the night that Cody and Tana hooked up, before they hooked up, Gabby Hanna saw him and Tana getting flirty at some like Playlist Live event, and Gabby pulled Cody aside and was like, listen, I know that she looks older, but just so you know, she is 17. And so Cody was well aware of Tana's age when all of this was going on. And Tana talks about like the knowing that it's wrong, but not necessarily being able to feel how truly traumatic it was because of the other traumatic things she's gone through in her life. Like there are just other more intense memories and traumas than this. So it doesn't sit in her body as heavy as maybe other things that she's gone through have. But she was also talking about how it probably manifests in ways that she doesn't realize. And to take that and to summarize it as like, well, Tana said that she doesn't care, is so reckless and like simplifying the experience of holding trauma in your body for years in a way that is not like reality, right? I'm pretty sure I've talked before on this podcast about how like sometimes you also don't even realize that something is trauma until years later. And in the moment, you don't realize that something is wrong. And then you get a little older and you learn a little bit more. And then you're like, oh my God, like that was fucked up and that never should have happened. And I was failed in that moment. And I didn't realize that I was failed. I'm pretty sure I've talked on this podcast before about how like when the Me Too movement was happening, I was in college. I was like halfway through college, I believe. at that point. And the Me Too movement was like my own like first awakening to realizing that things that I had gone through were not okay, and that some of my sexual experiences were absolutely not consensual. And I had a moment where like I realized that I had been assaulted. And it was years after the fact, and it was like a memory that before, it's like just something weird, something uncomfortable, like, oh, it was just I don't know, he was a bad guy and gross and whatever. I didn't associate it as being traumatic until years later when I like had the vocabulary to call it that, or when like my definition of what assault could look like changed. I think when I was younger, I hadn't considered like all the different ways that consent can be taken away, or that consent could never exist in the first place. A 17-year-old cannot consent to having sex with a 25-year-old. There is no, just because she said yes doesn't mean fucking anything. And I didn't realize those things until I got older and I learned more and the Me Too movement happened and like expanded my own understanding of what sexual assault could look like and what proper consent looks like. And so then I had moments where I looked back after learning all these things. I had moments where I like learned that I was assaulted. And I was like, oh my God. Like in the moment, I knew something was wrong. I knew something wasn't completely right. But I didn't have the words to put to it. I didn't know how to like understand that until now. And so I look back on those moments now and I don't necessarily feel the trauma of that in my chest. And maybe part of that comes from the fact that I didn't understand that that's what it was when it was happening. I was assaulted later on in life, not recently, but more recently than college. Post-grad, I was assaulted, and that is a moment in my life where I can feel the trauma from that night. I can feel the trauma of that experience because while it was happening, I was aware that this was wrong and that I needed to get myself out of the situation. I was aware. And so I feel like my trauma for that experience does sit in my chest differently than the ones that happened before. Even if it wasn't the first time that happened to me, it was the first time that I was aware that a boundary had been crossed in the moment. And I can't explain that because it's like the same thing happened multiple times, but there was one that had more of an impact on me than the others. And it the only thing that protected me from those first things was like the ignorance of not understanding, you know? That's not to say that it had no impact on me. It absolutely did. Similar to what Tana is saying, where it's like sometimes it's like the body keeps the score kind of vibe. Your body will remember that you have trauma. Your body will bring it up for you. But maybe when you think back about it and like your day to day, maybe when you just, I don't know, when you think about it in memory, it doesn't feel as traumatic as maybe your body will remember it as, regardless if that is how you experienced it in the moment. You know, trauma just, it sits in your body in different ways. And just because Tana has said that this memory is not as, it doesn't sit in her body as heavy as other things that she's been through in life, that there are like more traumatic things that she has gone through. So therefore, this is just like weighted less. Her saying that does not mean that it has had no impact on her or that she doesn't give a shit. And it's frustrating to me that people would twist her words to jump to that conclusion, because I think Tana deserves to have accountability taken for this. And she also deserves some type of closure to this. I guess at some point Cody had reached out to Tana. I don't think this was in this recent escalation, but rather perhaps like a year ago or a year or two ago, where something was mentioned in this regard. I don't know exactly when this happened, but Cody texted Tana at some point to be like, are we good? And Tana responded to him saying that they were, and she was like, I don't know why I did that, why I said that it was all good and it was all fine. I think it makes complete sense that would be her reaction. And like, what a shitty position for Cody to put Tana in, to reach out to her and be like, are we good? I'm getting married soon. I've got to do this. I'm doing that. Like, I'm just trying to do my thing and I don't want this messing it up. That's basically what he was insinuating. What a shitty position to put her in. Right? She has to not only carry the weight of the decision that you made as a 25-year-old when she's 17, but she also now has to carry the weight of like feeling like if she says anything more about this, if she is honest, if she processes any part of her trauma publicly, she is like holding the weight of your career and your marriage and your happiness in her hands. And if she says anything, it's going to mess up your wedding and make your life harder. And it's putting more of the responsibility on Tana, which she does not deserve. And again, going back to what I said earlier about how I feel like a lot of people are very quick to judge Tana and really crack down on her for the ways that she has messed up without offering her any empathy or understanding of like the situations that she was put in as a very young girl and how that could have impacted other ways that she showed up having a major fucking platform as a teenager. Like, it's not just Cody Ko, right? There were other men that were really fucking publicly weird to Tana that have been talked about before in the past. Jason Nash being one of them. Tana was like freshly 18 and he was making videos with her trying to get her to kiss him in a fucking Macy's dressing room. We all saw that video. That was stuff that they treated her like that, did it on camera, went home, edited it, threw it on the internet, never thought once, okay, maybe this is a fucked up position to put a freshly 18-year-old in, me, 46-year-old Jason Nash, asking her to kiss me for this like fake date YouTube video we're doing in a fucking Macy's dressing room. Are you for real right now? And I think people frequently felt comfortable doing that to Tana and putting her in those positions because she was always like an outspoken, off the cuff, like no filter type of girl. And so right when she's 17, 18 and she's, having conversations and talking about things and really getting into it with an audience that should have been comprised of other people around her age, was instead becoming like a playground for older men to be like, oh, she's wild and crazy, let me get in there. Hello? Shane Dawson's another one. I know we all remember the peeing video where Tana was literally like sat on his chest while he laid on a couch and he encouraged her to pee on him. This was live on youtube.com for everyone to see for many years. Tana was deeply taken advantage of by many people. The fact that we can rattle off like 4 names of men we witnessed publicly do Tana wrong is crazy. Because imagine all of the men that did it to her behind closed doors. Imagine all the people that we don't know about. So I'm glad that people are starting to give Tana some empathy, cut her a little bit of fucking slack here for not being your perfect victim. She doesn't need to be. Okay? The girl has been wronged in so many ways by so many people. I do not give a shit if you find her unlikable. And stop telling her that, because it's mean. So we'll see when and if Cody reacts to all of this. I believe that Tana deserves public accountability to be taken and closure for all of this. She shouldn't have to feel like she has to like protect your life and keep your choices, accept your choices, things that you did when you knew better, to preserve your current life. Your 25-year-old self should have fucking thought about that. Just ridiculous. And obviously really disappointing as someone that liked Cody's videos as well. But now that we know what we know, this is kind of fucking a one and done. Let's wrap it up here. Okay? Can't be watching Cody Co videos anymore. I just paused for a second to get up and go to the bathroom. And I have a new foster kitten. Her name is Mold. But I've been calling her Moldy May after Molly May. Princess Molly May, of course. So I walked into the bathroom just now. And Moldy May had unraveled my entire roll of toilet paper. The whole thing. The whole roll, which is awesome. I'm actually not mad at her at all because I'm excited that she is feeling playful enough to do some shit like that, because she's been pretty sick. And so to see her have enough kitten energy and playfulness to unroll an entire roll of toilet paper while I'm not in that room is kind of fucking awesome. I'm glad she had fun with that. But damn, what a waste. I've been thinking a lot about karma recently, and I don't want anyone to think this is because we're in JoJo Siwa's world. My reflections on karma and observations of it have actually had, just like as a coincidence that I feel that it's been a topic of conversation within my own mind recently. I've been thinking about it a lot because I feel like recently I witnessed someone else get karma that I was able to personally deliver. That I was like, that's direct karma. That's a direct consequence to their actions that they might not even realize is a direct consequence. They actually actively do not realize that was the consequence to their action. They got their karma and they don't even realize that they got their karma. Interesting. I feel like a lot of times we don't know that something is our karma, which is why I just assume. But the story that got me thinking of this, my recent example of me being able to deliver someone karma, was I went on lots of dates with someone 2 years ago. Long time ago. We went on a bunch of dates and they ghosted me, for lack of a better word. I mean, I guess it's what I would call it. To be honest, I haven't fucking thought of this in years. So ghosting feels like a harsh word because I genuinely have not fucking thought twice about this guy since we stopped seeing each other. But we went on a lot of dates and he just sort of fell off the face of the planet. And I was very much like, what fucking ever. He reached out to me like 3 weeks after he ghosted, which is the only reason why I wouldn't necessarily call it ghosting, because he came back around relatively quickly and I just ignored him because at that point I learned about his communication style and I was like, you can't ignore me for 3 fucking weeks and then come back and be like, hey, what's up? Shut the hell up. Done with that. So that was 2 years ago at this point. Have no contact with this man. We do not follow each other on social media. I know literally absolutely nothing about him and his life and whatever. A few months ago, this is a random fucking coincidence, but a few months ago, a friend of mine that makes content on the internet was talking to me about a video of theirs that went viral on the internet and some comments that they had received that were particularly nasty and just mean for no reason. We were talking about these comments and I went to their post to go look at the comments being referenced in my conversation with this friend. The first name I see pop up in their comment section is this fucking guy that I went on dates with 2 years ago. He's on the internet leaving hate comments. Oh my God. I was like, I'm going to make your day right now because I know this motherfucker. And I can tell you definitively that you have absolutely nothing to be concerned about. This is absolutely not someone you need to take seriously, someone whose opinion you should value. You know, we always talk about when you're like indulging in reading hate comments, taking them to heart. I feel like we're always like, you know, you shouldn't take the criticisms from people you wouldn't take advice from. And a lot of times that's hard to follow when people are writing from like anonymous accounts or you know nothing about them and they're just like coming at you and you're like, well, I don't know them. So maybe I would take advice from them. I don't fucking know. I was like, this is so awesome because I can definitively tell you this guy do not fucking worry about anything he has to say. He's a goof. He is goofy. Okay. I went on several dates with him. And so this was a moment where I felt like, oh my God, that's beautiful and brilliant. Cause I just got the complete thumbs up that I made the right call in not reopening that door, which was honestly, it was awesome because getting to see this, I got affirmed that I absolutely made the right decision in not reopening the door with him when he reached out to me. There had been moments where I looked back on that and I was like, should I have responded? Like, was I being too harsh? Obviously I wasn't. But there had been moments where I questioned that, and in that moment I was like, oh, I just got affirmed in the best way possible that like I made the right call on this guy. And yeah, because who the fuck wants to date a 35-year-old dude who is leaving hate comments on social media platforms? Okay, who the fuck wants to date a grown ass adult man that is spending his free time leaving hate comments? You are such a dork for that. It is sincerely so embarrassing and so goofy. And I mean, it's for anyone, but especially me being someone who is also on social media, has talked openly about how comments like that have impacted me in my life, goes to therapy, started going to therapy, and having to deal with like trolls on the internet was a major part of that. Someone that thinks about this a lot is like, especially for me, he was not going to be my one, but to anybody really. Because listen, that's goofy. That is really fucking embarrassing to be a grown man leaving hateful comments on the internet. I cannot. So anyways, that happened a few months ago at this point. I have not spoken to this man in years. We have not interacted with each other. A month ago, he DM'd me on Instagram to basically say, hey, Maddie, I know we haven't talked in so long. I often think about when we would go out, and I really regret how I acted back then. I was going through a lot in my life. It had nothing to do with you. You're amazing. You're fantastic. I believe the exact word he used was goddess, and that he would love a second chance with me if I would allow it. I left that bitch on red. Karma's a bitch. I should have known better. That's what you get for leaving hate comments. That is what you get for leaving hate comments. Do you think you can fuck a bad bitch and leave hate comments at the same time? No, you cannot. You think you can date Maddie Drosbeck and be leaving hater ass comments at your grown age at the same time? Be serious. Be serious right now. No, it was never going to happen. You were never going to get tickets to that show, babe. But I have honestly thought about that so often in the last month, because I'm like, that was his direct karma. Because here's the thing. If he had not left that hate comment that just so happened to be on someone that I know's page, that person just so happened to talk to me about the hate comments they were receiving. If you left a hate comment on one of my friends' videos and they never talked to me about it, so therefore I never saw it, you could have gotten away with this. You could have gotten away with this. Or if you left a hate comment on literally anyone else's videos. But because you left a hate comment on one of my friend's videos, which he doesn't know that this person is my friend, so it definitely is not intentional. He has no ability of knowing that there's an overlap here. Because you chose to comment a hate comment on one of my friend's videos, and because I know about that, you do not get a second chance with me. Because honest to God, if I didn't know this about him, I might be able to be convinced of like, just to hear me out. I could probably have been convinced to just like go on a date and hear what he has to say. And to be like, 2 years have passed. Maybe he's a different person. I don't know. I'll give him a shot. I'm not promising anything. If he had not left a hate comment. But unfortunately, you picked someone who cares about friendship over every other fucking thing on planet Earth, and someone who also does fucking social media and thinks that people who take the energy to leave hate comments are like actual gum on the bottom of my shoe. Okay? There's no way that I, at my grown age, would be dating you at your grown age, a man that leaves hate comments on the fucking internet to strangers that you do not know. Gooftron 5000 over here. Oh my God. But that felt amazing to issue in that karma. This is your karma, babe, for being messy on the internet. And you know what? He got delivered his karma for ghosting me. Also, I'm sure that karma was delivered in a different way. I'm sure that was the karma that awoke him to wanting to DM me and apologize and ask for another chance in the first place. There was definitely multiple layers of karma going on here. I just don't know about all of them. But I can tell you that was direct karma for giving my freaking friend a hate comment. That's what you get. No puss for you. Guys, we are so behind on Love Island. It's not even fucking funny. I'm looking at my notes right now, and the beginning of my notes start when Jesse enters the fucking villa. Okay, we are pre-CASA AMOR right now. So we are so far past this that I'm going to speed run everything that I haven't talked about pre-CASA AMOR and only tell you the things that are going to matter later on to get more recent, because we just need to catch ourselves up here. We are so incredibly behind. So without further ado, let's jump into it here. Jesse enters the villa. Joey is immediately into her, immediately jumping from Grace to Jesse, which we could have predicted because we already saw him do this when Grace entered the villa, and he did this to Samantha. Now, there is an argument to be had here that doing it to Samantha with Grace was not as bad because he and Grace had history and he had met Samantha like a week before. But at this point, he's been dating Grace for like a few weeks in the villa, and they have history. So for him to jump so fucking quickly to Jesse is fucking bananas, bonkers, insane. On top of that, the whole entire time, Joey is telling the two girls totally different stories, where he is basically telling Grace that he is more interested in her, he's leaning towards her, while meanwhile he's saying to Ronnie that he feels like something's missing with Grace, and then he's flirting up a storm with Jesse and making it seem like his head is turning, his eyes are mostly on her, he's open, he's not closed off, even though he's saying a totally different thing to Grace the whole fucking time. Joey is like the king of gaslighting. He's telling Grace that he felt like he had to give Jesse the time of day because she picked him, and this is just a hurdle for them to get through as a couple. And then he tries to turn it around on Grace and say, well, you did the same thing with Connor. No, the fuck she did not, sir. No, the fuck she did not. Literally from the second Connor chose to couple up with Grace, she rejected him, like point blank, right when they coupled up. And Joey, you were a part of those conversations. So don't even pretend like you weren't there when it happened, because you were sitting in like the little area inside the house, or on the exterior of the house, but right next to the house. You were sitting in that little cove with Grace and somebody else, and Grace was telling you that she was so frustrated that Connor had coupled up with her and he's a sweet guy, but she just doesn't feel it and she wants to focus on you literally from day one. Grace never explored it with Connor. So don't try to twist it around on her or trying to make it seem like it's an even playing field here and she also did the same. She absolute the fuck did not. But he will really gaslight the shit out of you and be like, well, you did the same thing. He's a demon. He's an actual fucking demon. Had this conversation with Grace at the fire pit. While he's telling Grace this, he's also telling Jesse that he has a connection with her that he hasn't had with anyone else in the villa. And then a recoupling happens where, or not a recoupling, but just Trey and Jesse get to choose who they want to couple up with. So Trey picks Jess and Jesse picks Joey. And Joey pretends to be shocked by this. He's like, who, me? Me? Oh my God, I had no idea. I'm gonna fucking beat your ass, Joey Essex. Grace is obviously pissed that he's acting shocked and is like, why the fuck are you shocked that she picked you? Calling him out about how completely he has swiveled once she entered the villa and it's not some wild coincidence that Jesse picked him. Grace is like, some of the things you say just don't make sense to me. And he's like, because I'm open, I'm transparent, babe. There's no games and you're expecting there to be games. Joey Essex, shut the fuck up challenge. That is such an insane thing to say. Yeah, and nothing makes sense to you because you expect games, and I'm just giving you realness and rawness and all truth and no games. Joey Essex, you literally invented the game. What are we talking about? What are we actually fucking talking about? Joey is sitting at the fire pit with Grace, saying point blank, verbatim, I'm not doing things behind your back, still making it seem to Grace like his priority is with her. Then, I shit you not, 20 minutes later, if that might even be generous, Joey Essex pulls Jesse to the terrace and kisses her. Doing nothing behind Grace's back. Babe, shocked she picked you? Yeah. Okay, you're so open and transparent. Joey, you deserve jail time for the crimes you have committed against women in this villa. This is Crazy Town, USA. Huh? Hello? What? And at least at this point, Grace is seeing how mad he is moving and how he's just straight up bold-faced lying to her. My thing is like, how can you behave like this on television and then ever get a date ever again in your entire life? Like, if you saw someone act like this on television, why would you ever want to go out with them? Ever in your life? This feels like another instance of people believing that they are the exception, that they are different. Oh, he would treat all those other girls like that, but not me. I'm different. I'm special. No, the fuck you're not. He's going to do the same thing to you. I hate it here. Then they're also kissing in bed later that night in the same room that Grace is in, mind you. Grace is losing her mind and she doesn't even know that he has kissed Jesse yet. In the morning, Joey makes Grace a tea and she's like, absolutely not, and starts complaining to the girls about how he said that Jesse was just a friend and she was the priority, and she is onto him and basically just thinks that he is a big fat fucking liar. And again, she does not know about the kiss yet at this point. Joey is playing dumb about all of this and being like, well, she knows I was open to getting to know other girls. And then just calls him out and is basically like, well, you need to like tell her that and tell her what happened because I don't know that she knows that. And she really doesn't, because he has not been clear and he has been the biggest fucking liar loser this whole fucking time. Jesse ends up pulling Grace and telling her about the kiss because Joey wasn't. So Jesse just lays it on the table and tells her everything. Then Grace and Joey go for a chat and she's shouting to the girls while she's walking over with him being like, oh, he's been kissing her. He's been having kisses, babes. And they're all like, from like across the villa. Joey opens his conversation with Grace by saying, I did nothing wrong. Then he acknowledges that he had a conversation with Grace last night around the fire pit, and he said that he just didn't know at that time if his relationship with Jesse was friends or romantic, ignoring the fact that 20 minutes later, he magically figured it out and kissed her on the terrace. He's like, when the last time I talked to you, I just didn't know. I was completely honest with you. But 20 minutes later, the whole story had changed. Shut the fuck up, Joey. That is such a lame fucking excuse to be like, I told you the complete truth. That was my truth at 7:10 p.m. last night. And by 7:30, I was a totally different man. I didn't lie to you. I simply didn't know myself yet. I learned so much about myself in those 20 minutes. Joey Essex, you are insane. You are actually insane. You are a master manipulator, and I just love this is all documented and that everybody at home can see how you act. I hope you never get any more puss for the rest of your life forever. I hate that I also know that probably is not how this is going to go down, but my God, why would you want to date someone that acted like this? Grace ends it completely and is like, yeah, it's done. We don't need to know each other then. As she should, and Harriet should really watch and fucking learn. Not that it matters. Because Harriet and Ronnie end up being booted from the villa because of a public vote. which they all seem shocked by this. They really shouldn't be, because Ronnie's like one of the most unlikable people that's ever been on Love Island. Joey Essex is right there next to him in terms of like shittiest men that have ever been on Love Island. In the shittiest men that have ever been on Love Island Hall of Fame, we've definitely got Ronnie, we've got Joey Essex, we've got Jax from season 8. Like, my God, why are we shocked that Ronnie and Harriet are gone? Harriet is whatever. I wasn't the biggest fan of Harriet because it was frustrating to me to see her go back to Ronnie and engage more in all of that bullshit. Ronnie's a mess. Is it kind of tragic that we never got to see Harriet and Ronnie at CASA AMOR? Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is kind of a crime, because if you're going to have someone that horrible in the villa, you really need to at least keep them until CASA AMOR. And they literally almost made it. CASA AMOR started literally right after they left. So we're at CASA AMOR now. But yeah, Ronnie and Harriet don't make it. We make it to CASA, and we've got we've got 6 new boys for the girls in CASA AMOR. The CASA boys are Jake, who is a self-described alpha male, which is a red flag. Blade, Joel, who looks like he's about 15 years old with abs, unexplainably. Lionel, Hugo, and Mosiah. So right off the jump, you can tell that Grace is into Blade and Jess is into Hugo, and we don't know where anything else is going to go in that regard. Mimi and Nicole are sleeping on the daybeds. Mimi remaining loyal to Io against all odds here. She really fucking shouldn't, because we know that Io is not going to be loyal to her. We could predict this from a mile out. And Nicole is staying loyal to Kieran, which also at this point, no idea of knowing if that's going to go the way that she wants it to go. And she's very insecure. She's very distrusting. This is going to be a tough few days for Nicole. Then in terms of the CASA girls, we've got Lucy, Ruby, Jess, Ellie, Emma, and Diamante. Ellie knows Kieran, and he says, I don't think she's one of the 120, but I recognize her from DMs, which is just a crazy sentence. But when the girls ask the boys, like, who's closed off, who's like completely not interested in talking to other people, Kieran is the only man in that circle that says, me, I'm closed off. Io, you know, you've been with Mimi since the start here. You had a hiccup there when Uma came in. You really should probably be deciding to stick with Mimi at this point, you dumb bitch. But no, he doesn't raise his hand. It's just Kieran that is decent enough to say that he is closed off and not looking to chat with anyone in CASA. Pretty straightforward of that. From the start here, it's pretty obvious that Io is super into Jess and Jess is super into Io. There are too many Jesses in this villa. I think we need to cast people with different names, or we need to force people to change their name when they go into the Love Island villa, because this is now the 3rd Jess adjacent name we have. We have 2 Jesses and a Jessie. This is very confusing, Love Island. I need you to not cast this many people with the same name. 2 was aggressive. 3, and they're going to end up referring to her as Jessica in like the voiceover, but everybody else just calls her Jess. So it's really just endlessly confusing, and I hate it. Blade, over in the CASA villa with the girls, tells Uma that he thinks Will is going to be looking elsewhere. The girls, however, are really trusting Will and Io for some fucking unknown reason. All the girls are like, they would never. Don't even think twice about it. He's here for you. I fucking can't. They have like their little villa versus villa challenge where they're seeing who kisses who the fastest. It's just, you know, a lot of it is like, it doesn't really tell you a lot about who's going for who, because it's a lot of it is just people kissing who's closest to them to be the fastest. So not too much happens there that I think we should talk about, though there is a moment where Blade calls Joey dumb. He's like, he can't do that in his head that fast. Like, he's dumb. And Jesse defends the shit out of of Joey to Blade. And I just thought that was so funny because I'm like, isn't Joey, his whole thing is that he's dumb? Isn't that what he's known for? When I asked everybody, why is Joey Essex famous, the like resounding truth I heard in response to that was that he's a reality TV star known for lacking common knowledge. If it's true, like, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission is a sentiment being echoed by the men in the main villa. This is a sentence that does not apply to relationships, and I cannot stress that enough. The sentence, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, is like a sentence that's used in like settings where it makes sense to take a risk when you're unsure if it's going to get approved or not by, like, I don't know, your fucking boss or your parents. I don't know. Something that's not so reliant on you keeping to your word and being honest and respectful as a relationship. This is a sentence that absolutely in no circumstances applies to relationships, and I truly cannot stress this enough. Will and Io are moving mad in the villa. Will is fully making out with Lucy. Meanwhile, Uma is in the villa sleeping on the daybed like, I just miss my man so much. My man, my man, my man. This is what you're going to get for saying my man too loud. Oh my God. Diamante and Ruby are both into Sean, and Sean is hitting on them both so hard, which is honestly confusing to me that 3 women are now into this Candyman routine that he's doing because he has negative riz. Okay, he is so unsmooth. He is so cringe in the way that he flirts, and for whatever reason, it has worked on multiple women this season. Sean ends up making out with Diamante, and yeah, it's just tragic because Sean and Matilda were pre-CASA looking like the only decent couple, and now this is gonna shake things up quite a bit. Then we make it to the CASA recoupling. First up, we've got Connor, who is currently coupled up with Grace. Connor chooses to recouple with Emma from CASA, and Grace chooses to recouple with Blade. Then we've got Sean, who is currently coupled up with Matilda. Sean chooses to stick with Matilda, and Matilda chooses to stick with Sean. The CASA girls are being kind of rude to Matilda during the recoupling, which is a little weird because it's like, I get why you would have beef with Sean, but why are you beefing towards Matilda? What did she do? Like, if anything, she's like the victim in all of this, right? I don't know. I felt like it seemed like at that point that Matilda and Sean were going to be able to work through this all just fine because Matilda had also been open to exploring things at CASA. She just didn't really find anything that was better. Sean explored in the same way, but he ultimately Sean explored to a much greater extent, but their relationship was still relatively new, so I felt like they would be able to work through it, I guess. I don't know. I just felt like that would be not totally out of the question. Then we've got Kieran, who is currently coupled up with Nicole. Kieran chooses to stick with Nicole, and Nicole also sticks with Kieran. Trey is currently coupled up with Jess. Trey chooses to recouple with Ellie, and Jess chooses to recouple with Hugo. Will, who is currently coupled up with Uma and has been moving mad all fucking week, Will decides to stick with Uma, and Uma decides to stick with Will. And these are like the worst recouplings within CASA because the girl walks in and she gets all excited because she sees him standing there alone and she's like, oh my God, he stayed loyal. Well, little do you know, babe, he actually was not loyal to you at all. And you're about to find out. You're about to fucking find out. Joey is currently coupled up with Jesse. Joey decides to stick with Jesse, and Jesse also sticks with Joey. Also kind of out of left field, did not expect Joey to stay loyal to Jesse and Casa. Io is currently coupled up with Mimi. Io chooses to recouple with Jess, and Mimi sticks with Io, leaving Mimi single. Crazy. Literally crazy. And then after the recoupling, Io is talking to Mimi like, it's not over between us. And she's like, oh no, it literally fucking is. Like, he seemed to believe that he could bring Jess into the villa, recouple with her from CASA, and explore it with her while continuing his relationship with Mimi. You can't bring a new girl into the villa, couple up with her, and expect Mimi to come back and have things be all good as usual with her. Then the next day, Uma and Matilda get to leave the villa to talk with Lucy and Diamante about their experiences in CASA with Will and Sean, and they're obviously upset about all of that. It's not nice to hear, really. Will and Uma, I swear to fucking God, Will gaslights the shit out of Uma and is like, why are you treating me like I cheated on you? We're not dating. Like, I thought you'd be happy for you. I would be happy for you if you found someone that you liked and wanted to explore things with. Are you fucking for real right now? You are making this girl feel bad for you because you chose to make out with someone else during CASA while she was slept out on the fucking daybed with Nicole and Mimi. And you want her to, you're trying to make her feel guilty for not being happy that you did that. That's a real mindfuck. What the fuck is going on there? Well, thank God we can really get the answers we deserve, because now we've come to movie night. Hoo-wee. Here are the highlights here. We've got a montage of Joey two-timing Grace and Jesse. All the clips of him saying one thing to Grace and doing another thing to Jesse. And the whole, proof of how he's been moving throughout this whole entire time. And he doubles down on the fact that his feelings changed and all of these clips were in order. And yeah, he did say those things to Grace around the fire pit and then 20 minutes later go kiss Jesse on the terrace. But he changed. And in the moment, he was truthful, living his truth in all of these moments. He's sticking to that story. What an absolute menace. And then someone makes a comment, either Sean, I think it was Sean, that made a comment about how Jesse and Grace are such close friends now, and Joey's getting real fired up about the fact that Jesse and Grace are friends. And Jesse is like, yeah, well, we're really similar people, so it makes sense that we would be friends. And Joey's like, no, you're not similar at all. Trust me, you're not similar. And it's like, oh my God, chill. Fucking relax, will you? Clearly they are similar. You were into Grace at one point in time. Why do you have to be such an asshole when things end? Why, if you're going to be the fucking worst and somebody has a reaction to that, why do you have to make it 10 times worse by being just the shittiest person alive to them? It's kind of unbelievable. Then there's a montage of cherry-picked phrases from Kieran, which I hate to defend a man, but the boy really hasn't done anything. So I feel bad about all of these cherry-picked phrases that really just make him look a lot worse than he actually has been. But Nicole and Kieran will get over this, so it's not really much to talk about here. Then we've got a montage of Io jumping ship on day one of CASA. I'm just being so fucking disrespectful. I really like Uma and the way that she was reassuring CASA Jess after all the Io stuff and being any of what you're about to see right now has nothing to do with you. His actions are his own. The way that he acted is on him. None of us are mad at you. We're mad at him for treating Mimi like that. And I just like that Uma gives a shit and she will defend her girly pops at all costs. And I really do like that about her. And Io is being so rude to Mimi. They have this back and forth fight where the girls are going, back and forth with Io, fighting after he's shown his clips. And Jess, the girl that he's currently coupled up with, looks at him and literally says, Io, I don't think you're being very compassionate. And I just, if I was Jess, this would change all of my thoughts about Io. Witnessing the way that he is handling the aftermath of this and, the way that he is dealing with owning up to and acknowledging the ways that he did wrong. If I was Jess, if I wasn't already put off by how the fuck he's acted, like, this would be a no-brainer to watch him being so disrespectful and dismissive of someone that he supposedly, allegedly, really fucking liked. Not a good look. And then Io's claiming the whole time that he did respect Mimi the entire time. And she's like, no, you fucking didn't. And we did not need a relationship label in order for you to owe me respect. And I'm like, period. Period. Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Oh my God. Then we get Sean's montage of mess. Yeah. Matilda's embarrassed by all of this. There's footage of him calling Diamante his priority after he basically said the day before that he never said that, and he never called Diamante his priority when he did. And he was like, I meant my priority in CASA. Obviously, Matilda's my priority overall. Okay, well, you didn't say that. And also, that's dumb. Your priority in CASA, a stint that lasts 5 days, if that, 3 days, 4 days, your priority, shut the hell up. Like, why are you acting like this is just, like, a game to you? And like I said, I thought that it was going to be a pretty, like, easy recovery for Sean and Matilda, but the way that he is acting, his reaction to the video and all of this is just kind of rogue. What he needed to do was just put his hands up and apologize, but instead he tried to make it out to seem like Matilda was also doing the same thing as him in some capacity, being like, well, you talked to Hugo. And she's like, what? No, the fuck I didn't. I had 2 conversations with the guy. And he's like, well, Hugo rejected you, and that's the only reason why you came back alone. And she's like, huh? Like, he's pulling shit out of thin air. That is absolutely not true. He is, for whatever reason, trying to leverage that to make what he did seem less bad, when in reality, it just makes him look way fucking worse. What you needed to do was just put your hands up and apologize, because at that point, you and her hadn't been together for that long where it would have been that big of a deal. Especially because she was also at least open-minded about talking to other people in CASA. But whatever the fuck you're doing right now, Sean, is a bad fucking look. Bad fucking look. Then we get to Will, who is talking about Uma moving too slow, flirting with Jesse while Uma was in the villa, flirting with other girls in CASA and kissing them, telling the CASA girl that he got on faster with her than he did with Uma. Will is laughing for some fucking reason and is looking shocked at her reaction. And all the girls and Uma are like, you didn't have to do all that. And he verbatim looks at them and says, I wanted to do it. I did it because I wanted to do it. Excuse me? That man has just shown you his true colors. Oh my fucking God. If you let that man back into your life, if you let this master manipulator win, I am going to lose my fucking mind. Holy shit. I'm here, and I quote, I'm here for myself at the end of the day. Like, what the fuck? What do you expect me to do? Foul. Absolutely fucking foul. And just when you think it's over, it's not. We've got the critics' choice. The public have been voting for the most compatible couples. The couple with the least amount of votes will be dumped from the villa immediately. Therefore, Ellie and Trey are dumped from the villa. I think I'm going to end it there for tonight. End of movie night is where I'll end it. There's so much more that I've already watched to talk about, but I have been filming for 2.5 hours and my camera's about to die. So that's it for today's episode. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for chatting it up. I am about to go get ready and head to trivia. Next week, expect an episode with Robbie Nunez as the guest. Robbie's coming back on the pod. Already filmed and edited that episode, and it is pretty fucking fantastic. So you're in for a real treat come next week. So with that, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.